In this video, I'd like to discuss carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are used as an energy source and for structural support within organisms. Carbohydrates are found in many foods. For example, in corn, there's sugar, there's starch, and there's cellulose. Sugar and starch are both used for energy within organisms, so within the plant itself, and also, of course, we can eat corn and take the sugar and starch in and use those as an energy source. Cellulose is fiber. So in the corn plant, the cellulose is used in the cell walls that make up that surround the cells. And so they give structure to the corn. Carbohydrates have a backbone made of carbon atoms. The prefix carbo means carbon. Carbohydrates are composed of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen in a ratio of 1 to 2 to 1, respectively. So that means for every one carbon, there are 2 hydrogens, and there is 1 oxygen. Now let's take a look at the hydrogen and oxygen by themselves. So if we look at that ratio, there's 2 hydrogen for 1 oxygen. And notice that this is exactly the same ratio as in water. We have 2 hydrogens for 1 atoms for 1 oxygen atom. So that's H2O. The term suffix hydrate means a solid compound containing or linked to water molecules. So let's go back to the name carbohydrates. Carbo means carbon, hydrate means water. And so you can see the origin of that name because we have 1 carbon for 2 hydrogens for 1 oxygen. And there's an example shown here in the figure here. We have glucose, which is C6H12O6. So you can see the ratio holds up there. This is called a monosaccharide, and that's something we're going to talk about in the next video. But I do want to point out one thing in this figure here. You can see there's oxygen, carbon, and hydrogen, and within this sort of diagram, whenever the lines come together, there's actually a carbon hiding there. And we're just not showing the carbon because it would make the diagram overly busy. So you can see that there's actually a carbon backbone to this molecule. Okay, that's all I wanted to say. This has been a brief introduction to carbohydrates, and we're going to go into more detail about carbohydrates in future videos.